Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm going to go out and work on the WRX, but I'm recording because I had an issue with it already, and I don't know if it's going to happen again, so I just want to catch it on tape if it does happen. Now, it is freezing cold in the garage right now. It's probably, if I had to guess, 40 degrees. It's like 28 outside. Here we are. The thing has literally 100 miles on it, but there's an issue. I don't know if it's going to do that. When I went to start this thing up the other day, it just kept cranking and cranking and cranking and took forever to start. And then when it did start, the TPMS sensors weren't working at all. Like the light was on, but it wasn't reading anything for any of the wheels and tires at all. So let's see if it'll fire up or not. Okay. Okay, false alarm. Fired right up. I don't know what it was the other day. It had a hiccup where it just like did not want to start. And the TPMS seemed to have fixed itself. So, interesting. I'm going to spin this car around and we'll get started with today's project. Alright guys, so on to today's video. We're going to be debadging the back of the WRX. It's a brand new car, so this should be a really simple process. The older the vehicle is, the more complicated and more difficult this is going to become. So if you want to debadge your car, as soon as you get it is the best time. So I got my 10mm socket. We're just going to take this plate right off. So we can remove this ridiculous chrome license plate cover. So now for the part that you came to see, right? We are going to take a little bit of dental floss and we're just going to go up inside one of these letters. So I'll start at the top corner of this W. This is coated, dental floss is coated in wax. And if you're careful about this, you're not going to damage your paint. We're doing this just to get started, okay? So we got this corner. We got the glue pretty much separated. You can see I can now pretty easily, well, I don't know if you can see it because my fat hand is in the way. We got this pretty much down through, halfway down through this W. So now we can take a little bit of tape. I'm using some pretty cheap duct tape. The reason I'm using this is because it'll be a little bit stronger than regular tape, but it's not going to leave behind a nasty residue. Sorry if you can't really see what I'm doing. I basically just put that tape underneath the corner of the W. I'm actually going to use my fingernail, which I hardly have nails. I don't know if you can see this. You can't. It's not focusing. I hardly have any fingernails. So this is not, you can definitely do this if you don't have fingernails. I just lifted that up with my fingernail and got this flathead screwdriver underneath. This is the scary part, which is why I use tape. Now I'm going to pry up, just like that. It might break off here. Yep. I kind of figured it would because of how cold it is. This plastic gets a little bit brittle. We broke our WRX lettering, but that's okay. That probably is enough to get underneath again. You can see we didn't damage the paint whatsoever. Get underneath the corner of the R. So there you can see I got the floss under there again, doing the same thing. Just loosening that adhesive on this side. A little more difficult. You can even, if you really wanted to, here's another trick you can use. You can push up on the letter, and you see that moved it and released it a little bit, but you got to be really careful if you do that method, because if you slip, you're going into your paint. You can see I'm rotating this. And now we got that loose enough that I can grab it. Boom! Like I said, not the most conventional way, but you left without any scrapes or scratches. If you don't want to use a flathead, you can use a plastic pry tool that's skinny enough to get underneath the letters and use that. But you can see there, I did it with nothing left behind. Now, if we did have residue left behind, you can buy yourself one of these. This is called a eraser wheel. Basically, if you have that glue stuck on your paint, you can take one of these, you'll put it into a drill, and then what you'll do is you'll power up this drill. This will start spinning, and you'll take the eraser wheel, and I know it sounds scary, but this is rubber. It does not damage your paint. all it's going to do is leave behind some streaking that you can take off with buffing compound. So you'll take this and you'll basically just go up and down where the glue was, and you'll just keep going. You don't want to put it like this. The best way is to go like this. Make sure you don't stay at one spot too long, because if it gets really, really hot, it can take your paint off. Most trunks are metal, so it's going to be a little bit harder to do that. If you're doing it on plastic, it'll burn through the plastic when it gets hot enough and take the paint off. So you're a little more safe on metal panels like your trunk. Once you are done that, you can take some kind of buffing compound and just take your hand with a rag and wipe off all of the residue. It's very simple. So unfortunately, I can't show you that on this one, but maybe I can convince my buddy Tyler to let me debadge his hatchback, which probably will leave residue behind because it's a 10-year-old vehicle. And again, if you have a plastic pry tool to use, that's going to be 10 times better. Here I am with a metal screwdriver at my brand new car with fresh paint, but boom. If you have an older car, this is not going to work. So I'm sorry, I thought I'd be able to show you a couple different methods, but some of the other methods aren't going to work. As I showed you over there on the WRX badge, you literally just take your fishing line and you'll just go like this all the way across, and it'll loosen up the glue and take it off. But you'll definitely be left with residue behind after you're done. There we go. You see that? We do have a little bit of residue left behind, but it looks like it's all just markings. There's actually no glue residue at all. So I have a fresh microfiber here. We're just gonna wipe that down. Well guys, that is it for the removal of the badges, the ghetto unconventional removal of the badges, but guess what? It works, right? There's no damage, there's no residue left behind, and we are badge free. Again, if you have a car that the badges have been on, and I'm talking years, like if you've had a brand new car and it's 6 months, a year old, they'll probably still pop right off, so don't worry too much. But if your car is a couple of years old, you're probably gonna have to use a different method. You're probably gonna have to heat it up and use a fishing line or get a really good pry tool and get it really hot. So those are the options you got. Just whatever you do, whichever option you take, just be very careful, be very patient, and do not rush it because you will damage the car. But that's it for today's video, guys. I'll see you again really soon.